Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Shred Show Live. I can't tell you how excited I am. It's not very often that we get an opportunity like this to be discussing what we're going to be talking about, to be talking about a patent within the tech and mortgage space. And I couldn't think of a better man to be joining me this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Showalter, CEO and founder of Candor, is joining me. And this is one of those guys who is, you don't hear a lot from Tom, but when you hear him, you're like, holy cow, it's time to listen. It's time to focus in because what he's about to share is about to change your life. And it's going to be an incredible discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? Are you ready? It is time to shred. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and again, welcome to the Shred Show. I am so honored and humbled to have Tom Showalter, CEO and founder of Candor Technology, joining me this morning. And like I said, we're going to be having a discussion. This doesn't come around very often at all, especially with all that we have going on within our industry. This is going to be one of those discussions that is eye-opening, that is incredibly impactful and very insightful. And like I said, I could not think of anyone better than Tom joining me this morning. Good morning, Tom, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate the opportunity.
I am stoked to have you. You and I have met in the past and had incredible discussions, and Candor is doing some really, really exciting things. We're going to be talking about that here in just a second. Before we get into it all, though, I love to get when we have a new guest on the show, I like to get to know them, their background. You are a true veteran of our industry. You've done many things within the industry. So Correct. For those who don't know you, maybe give a little background. How did you get your start in the mortgage industry? I'm sure you weren't a little kid saying, you know what, mom and dad, I'm going to be a mortgage professional. I'm going to be in the tech industry. How did you get started in the industry?
Sure. A little bit about my background. I've had the opportunity to get a terrific education. So I got a bachelor's in psychology, and then I followed that up with a master's and passed my doctoral work in experimental psychology / statistics.
Dang.
And from there, I went on to get an MBA from Stanford. So I got a very firm grounding in the world of business and the world of science. And I started off my career as an aerospace engineer, of all places, NASA.
What?
Yeah.
Guys, we have a NASA. This is crazy.
I had a gig at NASA. I was an Air Force officer, and NASA asked for some help in a particular area, which I was well informed. And the general officer in charge of my division said, Showalter, go to NASA. So it's like, yes, sir, I'm on my way. And so I moved from Ohio to Mountain View, California, to the Ames Research Center, where I spent 3 years.
Whoa.
And part of what I've learned there, see, the people at NASA were challenged with a terrific mission. And the mission was to put a man on the moon when nobody knew how to even get in orbit, much less how to get to the moon.
Yeah.
So one of the things I learned about while I was there is how to take immensely difficult, broad and deep problems and solve them with a combination of people and technology. They kind of taught me that. Only they didn't say, here's the rule book for that. They lived it every day. And if I was going to be a card-carrying member of the NASA community, I had to get along in that new world. And I found that not only did I get along in the new world, but I really liked it. And so I learned a lot about how to address complex, difficult problems and solve them with technology and people. And one of the things I learned straight off the bat is I am not the source of all these answers. Because one of the things my management at NASA kept asking me, who are you talking to? Who's informing you? How are you getting educated about these kinds of problems? Because they knew no one of their engineers had the answers. The answer was in the community. And so I kind of learned how that worked and how you had to run the organization and how you had to lead it. And I remember my boss had on his wall something about quality organizations. And he said, almost any organization can get word from the top to the very bottom. They can do that. But the best organizations figure out how to collect what people at the bottom of the organization are doing and why, and getting that to the top. And so they basically coached me in how to do that. And I found that experience invaluable as I go forth, because we at Candor tackled the problem. And by the way, we used some NASA technology to solve it, by the way.
That's crazy.
Oh, it is. Oh, believe me, my path is like, oh, yeah, when I'm 20 years old, this is how I'm going to do it. No, it didn't work that way. But we solved some very difficult problems. But a lot of the NASA philosophies on how to deal with complex and difficult problems, we've been able to employ successfully at Candor. And because we're addressing a very broad and difficult problem here, no one person has all the expertise we need. It's not like we can go with Charlie's answers. I could be Charlie, okay?
Sure.
But I don't have all the answers. I don't have them. I know kind of where they are, where some of the answers may be, but the whole process of investigating and understanding the problem and then moving forward from there, that's a group effort. And part of the success of Candor has been the way it's organized and used its people to solve these very complicated problems, because the problems are multidimensional and no one person who's an expert in a particular dimension can solve them. So,
wow. So I mean, literally, this is one of those things, Tom, that's exciting to me, because you can see right here back behind me, teamwork makes the dream work. And literally what you're talking, like, that's what it is. Surrounding yourself. And I know at Candor in particular, you guys have built this phenomenal, I mean, a world-class team. And to what you're talking about, sometimes I think when we hear of NASA, we hear these complex problems, and you know, there's a lot of single people that are credited for certain things, but it's a community. I love the fact that you said the word community in there, because that's what it is. And that's what the mortgage industry is as well. These complex problems are not just being solved by one person or one company. Nope. It's community. It's collaboration that's happening.
That the key word. One of our hiring criteria, and I hire everybody that works here. We now have 80 employees.
Wow.
One of the key criteria, will this person be a good collaborator or not? Because if the answer is they're kind of arrogant, they kind of think their opinion counts more than yours, or they're uncommunicative, or something along the lines that suggests that they won't play in the sandbox very well with others, they get to work elsewhere. Because no matter how smart you are, see, one of the things we have to do to make Candor a really great idea is each of us has some ideas. But the idea is, how do you take somebody's idea and make it a better idea? Now, you have to have the kind of morality and personality that thinks that's okay.
Sure.
There are people who think, this is my idea, and how dare you touch it? Well, okay. You probably aren't going to solve much with your idea. And we pay for solutions here, not arrogance and ego. So you got to go elsewhere. If you want to be the idea dictator, you can't work here. If you want to be a collaborator and help everybody take an idea and make it a good idea, and then make a good idea a great idea, and then make a great idea something that we can champion in the industry. Now, that process requires a lot of collaboration, a lot of give and take. Each of us has to put something out there that somebody else is going to comment on. And that goes for me in particular. I mean, one of the things I'm most proud of is my people will correct me. Say, Tom, that one needs some work. By the way, Tom, it needs a lot of work. Okay, fine. I think that's the coolest thing about working here, is that anybody has the moral authority to challenge an idea if they have a good reason.
Agreed.
They just do. And by the way, that philosophy came from NASA.
Exactly. So this is really, and this literally leads me into what I want to get into the meat and potatoes of this discussion. This perfectly sets it up, Tom, because recently, this isn't something you hear about very often within the mortgage, within the tech space, but Candor just got a patent within the tech space. How? Like, this is, how long did it take? I know, again, these things don't happen overnight. This is a lengthy process. There's lots of hoops that you have to jump through, but tell us a little bit, how long did it take and tell us a little bit about the patent itself.
4 years.
Jeez.
Yeah, I wrote the first patent spec in 2018.
Wow.
And we one of the things you have to do here is that you have to hire excellent legal talent. If you're going to go this on the skinny, good luck. Here's why. In the early teens, the Supreme Court issued some refinements to patent law. They adjudicated some pivotal cases.
Sure.
So they changed. See, before, if you had a software company, you could almost always get a patent if it did something interesting. You moved data around, you added this, subtracted that, moved it. I got a couple of those patents, by the way. Cool. Well, then about 2012, 2013, the Supreme Court came down and said, there's a new law of the land when it comes to patents. And they drastically changed what would be regarded as patentable subject matter. And just something written in software that kind of mimicked human thought and process, no longer sufficient to get a patent. Can't do that.
Wasn't going to cut it.
So you have to have the machine do something that only a machine can do. You can't just replicate human process or human thought.
Sure.
By rote, especially. So we were challenged, and we're taking the product in this direction anyway. So it's not like patent law made us change who we were or who we're trying to be, because we've always founded Candor to not only be a process improvement technology for the mortgage industry, but to be a data and analytics company that could lead you to better data-driven solutions to the manufacturing loan, to its sale, to its support in the secondary market. That's been our mission all along. So when patent law came along and said, we can't just shove bits of data around and get a patent, we said, okay, well, we're not trying to do that anyway. I mean, we're going to do that, but our bigger goal is this.
It's much bigger.
But trying to put that in language that, A, is consistent with who we're trying to be, and B, consistent with what the patent office will regard as patentable subject matter, took 2 years.
Wow. Holy.
How many drafts did I do? My patent application file is like 300 pages.
Oh my gosh. Like the work, the time, the focus and the energy that goes into it. So break it down for us, for those who are wondering, like, okay, so what actually is it? Like you said, it has to be specific. The Supreme Court came and changed in 2012, 2013, kind of made it a little more challenging, a little more like, hey, you have to get more specific. So what specific, like, what is the patent? What is it that's going to help us as an industry? And I want to get into it after this, but what is the patent actually?
Well, the patent is for Candor's loan engineering system. And what that system is it's an effective inference network. It's based upon expert system technology. And so what expert systems enables you to do is it enables you to program the critical thinking skills, not just the by rote tasks, but the critical thinking skills of a particular kind of expert. Enables you to program that into a machine. So we taught the machine 2 experts. We taught it how to do the critical thinking of an underwriter. And the second one was a forensic auditor. And that second one is a very big deal.
Yeah. Because
you can shove a loan through an underwriter and get something out the back end. It might even sell in the secondary market. But then there's something called repurchases happens.
Absolutely.
And you end up, the typical repurchase exposure per typical industry loan today is over $300 a loan.
Dang.
Most people don't know that. Now, we happen to know that because we buy the SEC data and we analyze the bejesus out of it. We know. But many of our clients don't even know. They don't even know their own repurchase exposure. So it's like, oh, okay. Anyway, so we programmed in this forensic auditor to complement the underwriter. So when Candor LES is done underwriting your loan, you know 2 things. First, that underwrite will be consistent with all relevant investor guidelines. That's what underwriters are supposed to do.
Of
Here's
course.
the guidelines, here's the loan.
Yep.
Let's get this to work. But the second thing you'll know is that underwrite will pass any forensic audit. Any. So we've done 1.9 million underwrites now with 0 repurchases. And since we insure every one of these, we'd know if there was. We had 2 claims. Freddie tried one, Fannie tried another. And see, since we capture all the data around the underwrite, we know the ins and outs of all the decisions made on that underwrite. We have provided the world's most thorough due diligence process. So what Fannie and Freddie saw when they saw Candor data, see, what is a repurchase? And again, I spent 6 years at Digital Risk. I helped manufacture $150 billion in repurchases.
Dang.
I kind of know what goes on there.
Just a little bit, right, Tom? Just kind of. You might get it a little bit.
So I get that. So that's where the forensic auditor came from. Because when I was there at Digital Risk, and I saw 750,000 problem loans. By the way, that's a bunch. 750,000, and I saw the underpinnings of those loans. They were garbage. They were just garbage. And by the way, when I got to the mortgage industry in 2004 as a director, VP at Loan Performance, coming from the credit card and finance business, I went there because that's where I thought the money was.
Sure.
I didn't realize I was 4 years from prophecy, where past tense, the money was there. Now it's gone.
I was going to say a little late, but hey.
A little late, but anyway, 2008, it kind of like, ooh, poof. But anyway, when I was there in 2004 and seeing how mortgages were thrown together, there was no science here. There was no quality assurance of any kind. It was just a manual process where they did the same process 3 times. They thought they improved something.
Sure.
And all you really do is to just kind of move the deck chairs around on the Titanic, but you don't really get the clean loan you'd hope for. And so, see, I came from an industry, the aerospace industry, where a multi-million component aircraft flies flawlessly for thousands of hours. Now, that's not an accident. You have to design in quality. You just can't hope you get quality by the time you've done manufacturing the loan. So the aerospace industry has a set of design principles called system safety engineering, and they also have a mathematics that backs that up. So system safety engineering is what makes the aerospace safety record so formidable. They've done a great job. So having been exposed to that kind of technology, I picked that up, scrubbed it off a little, put it in the mortgage industry and the Candor processes. So that forensic auditor is operating not only with the full authority of a typical forensic auditor, they've got aerospace technology backing them up and a mathematics that's second to none. So now we can go, and I am not surprised that we've done 1.9 million of these with 0 repurchases, because frankly, aircraft and spacecraft I put together in the past, they had to be at least that good, or you'd get shot at dawn. But we knew the likely defect rate of the mortgages we were making by the way we designed and developed the manufacturing process. No one can say that. So anyway, that whole predictive envelope that we're talking about,
yeah,
and that inference network that leads you from you're doing this task, but it relates to these outcomes that are predictable and these outcomes that are meaningful. That was the formation of the patent infrastructure. That was patentable subject matter. It's
Tom,
not moving stuff around.
This has to be the only time I've had a lot of amazing people on the show. Don't get but you, number one, first guy that's ever worked with NASA. Number two, the first time I've ever, the mortgage industry, especially when it comes to tech, sometimes it goes over people's head. But what you just explained, I want everybody to go back and listen to the last 3 minutes, 3, 4, 5 times, because Tom, you literally just compared creating a rocket ship, all the protocol, everything that goes into it, and then you put it into our industry. Like you said, look at the safety, look at everything that NASA's accomplished. And you brought it to our industry. That is some crazy, innovative, pioneer thinking that is just evolving our industry. This is one of those. These are the discussions. Being in the industry as long as you have, this is what helps our industry. This is what gives new lifeblood. This is the future of our industry.
I think you're right. And when when I was founding Candor, and I was looking at my initial aerospace industry experience and how much precision and quality and safety they could engineer into the product. And then I looked at how we threw together mortgages. I would get up in front of audiences as the newly minted founder of Candor and say, folks, I come from the aerospace industry. We learned how to do things quite well there. And if we made airplanes the same way we make mortgages, I'd never fly again. I'm so sorry, but I wouldn't get on. In fact, I wouldn't drive by an airport. Those buggers are going to be dropping out of the sky on me. You're going to be a mess. So I realized the industry, and it is the world's largest capital market. And it needed an infusion of some real quality methodology so that it could see. What bugged me most about the meltdown was it was just sloppy work.
Sure.
People who know me know sloppy work and me don't exist in the same sentence.
Negative.
Not happening. But when I saw it was just sloppy work, and it was sloppy work done to make a buck, I was like, oh, there's something seriously wrong with the incentives and the methods of this industry. In order to, I saw people during the run up where loans would get kicked out of a security due to a loan defects. They get turned around and put in the next security. And because they only had a 2% sampling rate, that bad loan, that defective loan, would pass muster and get sold. That means some investor thought he was buying a FICO 750 where the borrower made $150,000 and the DTI was 0.4. And that wasn't really what the investor was buying.
Getting
income wasn't 150, it was like 95.
Wow.
And the DTI wasn't 0.4, it was like 0.62. And the FICO may have been manipulated as well. And so when I saw all that going on, and when I saw that, and especially when I got to digital risk, not one or two or three of these loans showing up at 750,000 of them, and we only had a third of the population of problem loans. We didn't have everybody's. So you looked at millions of problem loans, and they were just manufactured by the Marx Brothers. It's like, whoa. I don't know whether Harpo or Groucho got most of them, but they messed it up. And so I frankly, I remember when I was negotiating our underwriting policy with a major carrier from London, and like, oh, Yank, what provoked you to do this? And I said, well, really what it was, when I saw what a crappy job we were doing at making mortgages and running the mortgage industries, I got mad. I said, we have the science in this country to do it better, a lot better. So my message to them is the same one to you. I got mad, and I said, we can do a much better job here. And what's worse, we have to do a much better job. We were bankrupting countries with our mortgage securities. Countries.
That's crazy.
By U.S. mortgage securities. That's atrocious. So I basically said to them, guys, I know you're from across the pond. I know you're from England, and I'm a Yank, and I'm an American. But one thing the Americans do is they have ingenuity, and they don't put up with much crap.
Absolutely not.
And so I just said, here's the Yank. Sorry, guys. Here's the Yank saying, we're going to do a better job. Here's how good we're going to do it. And I'd like you to join me.
Nice.
Now they were quoting me insurance rates that were at 12 basis points. And they were challenging me, well, Showalter, if you're so good, what's your basis point repurchase rate going to be? The industry's at 12. So we want to quote 12 as a price per loan for our policy with you.
Right.
I'm sitting there going, guys, I think it's going to be 1 basis point.
What?
And they were looking like 12 to 1. Let me see. The Yank says it's 1. Our data says it's 12. Whom do we agree with here? I must have been touching the Blarney Stone at the time because they agreed with me in the end.
Oh my gosh.
Well, you know what? But they actually our current exposure per loan for Candor repurchases, where the typical loan is $300 to $400.
Yeah.
You know what the exposure rate for Candor is now, given our data? $1.96.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Dude, that is amazing. So actually on this point, I want to kind of not right along this, because some people might say, well, okay, now that Candor has a patent, does it legitimize more the value proposition at Candor? Because again, not to say anything, like Candor's been an amazing company. It's been an amazing tech company, but how does that patent legitimize more the value proposition at Candor?
It's a bit like the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. It's so many people. Well, we have a number of folks that are trying to imitate what Candor does,
of course,
and they're not having a lot of success. And it's more than just imitating the code, which I think I think that's what they think they're trying to do.
Yeah, they think that's what it all takes, but it's not.
No, and you have to first adopt our mission, and our mission is to revolutionize how lending is done, for all the right reasons. Consumers that have an ounce of wherewithal should get that evaluated fairly by an underwriter, and so that people who have a potential credibility to get a loan should be evaluated appropriately and get that loan. And right now, the underwriting logic is inconsistent. I don't want to say biased, but my gosh, if you give 5 underwriters the same loan, you get 7 different underwrites because 2 guys changed their mind halfway.
Amen to that. Don't we know that's the truth?
Well, that's true.
It's true. I'd say
if you're a consumer going into that, which is the current industry's manual process, given a complex, unstructured process, complex problem, unstructured process, you give it to a bunch of people, you're not going to get consistency. It's just 100%. That's the wrong design formula.
So this has been, one of those conversations. As we start to wrap this up, Tom, I want to ask something, because you mentioned this earlier, but what's really crazy and exciting probably for you, the Candor team, even for our industry, is that this technology, this patent, isn't just for lenders. This can be used outside of it.
Yeah.
Talk about that just briefly.
Well, this process is really about, we vet and validate every piece of data we touch.
Right.
Candor does over 6,000 cross checks on every loan.
Whew.
Like, whoa.
That's a lot.
By the way, if there's ever an industry OCD award, we got it. It's ours. It's ours. Because we do those 6,000 cross checks. We subject to thousands of analyses. And so that whole methodology about how to vet inbound data, how to validate it, again, part of the forensic audit techniques that we employed back at Digital Risk, that I then thought through and figured out how to mimic with a machine, merged with system safety engineering principles and math. That's a big deal. And the other part of the big deal is that once we get that part right, the actual production of the loan is incredibly fast. We did a demonstration on stage at the Digital Mortgage Conference where we did a complete underwrite on stage in 90 seconds.
Holy cow.
Okay.
90 seconds.
And it was an underwrite that was a great underwrite. Remember my criteria?
Right.
It fits with the investor guidelines, passes any forensic audit. We did that on stage in 90 seconds.
Wow. That's we always, in this industry, we're talking about more and more about efficiencies, bringing the cost of the loan down, like of the process down. This is one of those. And that's why I was so excited to talk to you, Tom, when I heard about this, when I've known what Candor does, the technology, the data, but now we are getting to a place as an industry where efficiencies is everything. And that this technology can help everybody within not only within our industry, like you said, now it can help with outside of our industry. This just opens up so many doors. For so long, our industry's been waiting for something, and now it seems like we're there. We've reached this pinnacle.
Let me warn you.
Ooh, I like it. Warning.
Here's the thing. Our target, again, wasn't efficiencies. Our target was to enable every mortgage executive to make the best possible underwriting decision. We focused on making the best decision. And that means the decision that's consistent with the guidelines, that is consistent with the data supplied about the borrower and the property, that is consistent with the 1003, the application. the consistency amongst all of those things is what creates immense complexity.
Sure.
And so what we've designed is an engine that can create the critical thinking necessary to resolve that complexity. And keep in mind that it's preserved the integrity of the 1003, the integrity of the guidelines, and the integrity of the borrower data. It's done all of that, and it does it all in 90 seconds.
Wow. Tom, that's a mic drop. Like, that is what we're going to end. This literally continues. I've been around the industry. I've seen a lot of tech. We travel to all the events. Mm-hmm. And the first time you and I chatted, as you opened up the world of Candor to me, I was just like, I started to kind of like, okay, I get it. But now this conversation, the wrapping in the aerospace, the technology, the math, everything behind it, making it a more, I love that you re-clarified, not just as an efficiency, but this is literally going to help us and take our industry to a new place and help us become stronger and just complete. We always talk about helping the end user, the client, the consumer achieve that dream of home ownership. And again, we all want, as lenders, as companies, we're trying to do that cheaper, faster, in a better way. You mentioned it. That it is a little bit, has our industry been broken? I don't want to call it broken, but you have brought it so we can step up the game and begin to become better together, which that is what is really exciting for me. Tom, this has been incredibly brilliant. I cannot thank you enough. Cannot thank the team at Candor enough for joining us on the show, sharing just a little bit about this today. I cannot wait for the future to see what continues to evolve. I believe you're going to be at MBA. I cannot wait to see you at MBA as well and chatting with you there and continuing this conversation. But Tom, thank you so very much for joining us today and for everything that you shared.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Guys, this is one of those discussions that I know you have learned something. There were so many little snippets. Go back and listen to this. Start to think. The future of our industry is here. It's companies like Candor. It's people like Tom who have that innovative thinking, who are willing to take our industry to that next level and willing to share and have these discussions. It's an exciting time. Stop worrying about it. Stop having fear. Go out there, go all in, and take the time to just crush it. And I promise you're going to have a phenomenal end of 2022 and a great 2023. As always, we appreciate you. We love you. Now it's time for all of you to go shred, go show up, hustle, repeat every day. See ya.